So in today's video, we are going to be discussing Marquise Brown being traded to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, before we get into the video, please consider liking and subscribing, and let's jump right into the video. So this was one of the two big shocking wide receiver trades that happened during the first night of the NFL draft. Another one that was kind of head scratching more than anything, if you ask me. But again, it was a part of the two massive wide receiver trades in this year's draft. You had AJ Brown going to the Philadelphia Eagles, which I already made a video discussing that one. But then we have this one as well, with Marquise Brown being traded from the Ravens to the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is obviously something that really nobody heard about and didn't think it was going to happen. This one was kind of kept on the lowdown. Like, nobody actually knew this one was going to happen, because there was reports coming out that once this trade was finalized, that this had actually been in the works for a long time, that this trade had actually been something that was brewing for quite a while. They just pulled the trigger tonight during the draft, and Hollywood Brown actually was in Arizona, I think, during the announcement that he was traded to the Cardinals. So this one was in the works for quite a while, and it just took till draft night for them to make this trade official, make it known to the public. So if we're just looking at the trade first, let's look at what happened with this trade. So the Cardinals, they just received Marquise Brown from the Ravens, along with the 100th pick in the draft. So the Cardinals, they get a player and a draft pick. And then the Ravens, they originally got the 23rd pick, but they ended up trading that pick to Buffalo, got the 25th pick from the Buffalo Bills, and then they selected center Tyler Lindenbaum. So just that whole trade as a whole, personally, I thought the trade was weird. I didn't think a team would ever give up a first-round pick for Hollywood Brown. I never would have imagined that Hollywood Brown was worth a first-round pick. I didn't think that would ever happen. And I didn't even know if really teams would value Marquise Brown even in the future as an asset that you would acquire by giving up a first-round pick. Now, when it comes to the Ravens side of this, the Ravens players, the fan base, they seem to be very upset with this trade. The players, Lamar Jackson himself, is not very happy with this trade. He simply tweeted out WTF, and you know that Lamar Jackson is not going to be happy with this, because Lamar Jackson right now isn't signing an extension with the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm just throwing the question out there. I wonder if things are going to get messy in Baltimore. I'm not sure if that's exactly the case, if that's how it's going to play out. The Ravens organization, they're a very consistent franchise. I like John Harbaugh, and the team is usually a team that will compete every single year and is always a tough team to beat, a tough team to play. So the organization itself doesn't necessarily worry me. It's just the fact that now Lamar Jackson won't sign an extension as of right now. And then you also have the players upset at the fact that Hollywood Brown got traded to another team. So the players right now aren't particularly happy. And I think it's kind of fair to say, because Lamar Jackson and Brown were very close on the football field. Those two played very good football together. And I think Lamar Jackson's not particularly happy losing his number one wide receiver, because now really all he has to throw to is Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. And I don't know if that's necessarily the receiving core that the Ravens want to throw out there every single week, because it feels like year after year, the Ravens fans are always just like, we need a wide receiver. We need to get Lamar Jackson help. And that is obviously not what happened. They did the exact opposite by trading away Brown. Now, there could be a silver lining in all of this. The Ravens, again, a consistent franchise, they may have something up their sleeve that they're ready to do. But as of right now, the players are just not happy with this trade. But then you look at the Cardinals side of this, I'm sure Kyler Murray is in the exact opposite camp as Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson obviously seems to be a little bit upset with this draft pick, but then you have Kyler Murray, who's probably very happy with this draft pick. Kyler Murray and Marquise Brown, they played together in Oklahoma, and they played together the year that Kyler Murray won the Heisman Trophy. And so those two have a really great connection. And so the Cardinals organization, because the Cardinals and Kyler Murray are going through their own situation, kind of like the Ravens and Lamar. Lamar just won't sign a contract extension, but Kyler Murray wants a contract extension, and the Cardinals aren't giving it. But the Cardinals seem to be giving Kyler Murray weapons to make him happy. They're pairing him up with a former college teammate. Again, it's kind of like the Derek Carr, Devontae Adams thing. They're pairing up with former college teammate, guys that are already best friends, close on the football field, and trying to keep Kyler Murray happy, pairing him up with somebody that he already knows how to play with, somebody that he can trust and play with well. And so when it comes to Hollywood Brown being traded to the Cardinals, I think Kyler Murray is going to be very happy. And now Kyler Murray has a lot of people that he can throw to. He has a really solid receiving core to throw to. DeAndre Hopkins, which is some people consider him one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. Some people have him at number 1, but I'm pretty sure he's definitely top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. You have Rondale Moore, who's very solid at the wide receiver position. You have AJ Green, and then you have Zach Ertz, who they signed to an extension this offseason. So you have a lot of key pieces on that offense that should make the Cardinals a really good football team. Now, to determine who's going to win this trade, I don't think there's any way to be able to determine that right now. Personally, like I said at the beginning, I don't think anybody won this trade just right off the bat, because the Cardinals gave up a first-round pick to acquire Marquise Brown. And like I said, I don't know if Marquise Brown is really worth a first-round pick, because he's never been the most flashy guy in the NFL. But the one way I can describe and think that the Cardinals won this trade, or at least this trade worked out for the Cardinals side of things, is if Marquise Brown does a good job of filling the shoes of Christian Kirk, which I think he's more than capable of doing. I think he will do a good job of filling those shoes, because if we're comparing those two guys' last 2 seasons, Hollywood Brown in 2021 had 91 receptions, 1,008 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And Christian Kirk had 77 receptions, 982 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So obviously, Marquise Brown, he had the bigger numbers. Obviously, a few higher volume of receptions than Christian Kirk. But I think you're looking at the landscape of the Cardinals, what happened for them in the offseason with Christian Kirk signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think them acquiring Marquise Brown and having him filling the shoes of what Christian Kirk left, I think is the best way to determine if the Cardinals won this trade. Because if they get the production out of Hollywood Brown that they got out of Christian Kirk, I think the Cardinals more than did good enough to help the Cardinals win this trade, or at least make this trade look a little bit better. Because a first round pick, I don't know if that's necessarily worth it. But just as a whole, the situation, I don't know if the situation got any better, because now you have Kyler Murray, who's going to be happy at least next season, throwing to a guy that he played with in college at Oklahoma. But then you also have Lamar Jackson, who's now upset because he lost his number 1 receiver, a best friend on the football field. And Ravens fans, Lamar Jackson, they're not happy. So this situation could get dicey, but at the same time, we're talking about the Ravens here. They seem to be an organization that never really seems to have many distractions, a team that we're talking necessarily bad about. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. If there is something, let me know down below. If there is something that the Ravens in the past have been a distraction, something we talked about in the media. I mean, Ray Rice is really the last thing I can think of, but we won't get into that. But like, really, the Ravens are a really good team at keeping things stable. They're not really a team that is known for distraction. So I really am curious to see how this plays out. I really am wondering what's going to happen with the Ravens. All I know is it really does seem like Lamar Jackson is upset. But give me your thoughts down below. Who do you think won this trade? Do you think anybody's actually going to win this trade? What do you think of the trade in general? Give me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one.